Hello, this is Morteza Kordi, and in this tutorial, we are going to start coding our application. But first, we need to give IDs to our user interface components here. So first of all, we have this text view at the top. So just select it. And here you can see that we already provided an ID for this text view, txt calculations. Now let's provide an ID for this text view here. This one is going to be txt results. So just type in here txt results and then press on enter key on your keyboard. Now we have this one, this equal button. So this is actually an image, but let's assume that all of these components that are actually clickable, let's assume them to be a button. So select this equal button, and for the ID just type in here btn equal, and then press on enter key on your keyboard. So here we have this number 7. So again, here for the ID, just type in here btn, and you can just put number 7 here, btn 7. And for this one, number 8, btn 8, btn 8, number 9, btn 9, and for this operator, btn plus, and then press an enter key on your keyboard. So if you want to, you can skip this part of the video, and I'm going to actually provide IDs for all of these components here. So number 4, btn 4, btn 4, 5, 6, and the subtract operator btn subtract, number 1, btn 1, 2, and number 3, the multiplication operator btn multiply, we have this clear button btn clear, we have this 0 button btn 0, and finally we have this divide button btn divide, and then press an enter key on your keyboard. So now that we provided IDs for all of these user interface components here inside our layout, we need to go into this calculator.java file. So if you don't know how to open it, you just need to open the Android view, and inside this app folder we have this Java folder. Inside this Java folder we have our package. Open it, and here you can see this calculator file. So let me double click on this tab in order to make this area wider. So first of all, we need to actually provide our text view. So let me show you the emulator. We have this text view at the top and this txt results. So let's say that inside the class, we want to provide them, we want to actually create them inside the calculator class, because later we are going to use these variables in other methods. So we are going to say text view txt calculations, semicolon. Again, text view txt results, semicolon. So now we are going to go inside this onCreate method in order to initialize our variables. So txt calculations, assignment operator. So before, if you wanted to actually initialize your objects, your variables that were of type, for example, view, text view, button, or the subclasses of the view class, you had to cast them to that specific type. So now, as of Android Studio 3, I think, you don't have to do the casting job. You just need to say find view by ID, find view by ID, okay, r.id.txt txt calculations, semicolon. As you can see, before we had to just put a pair of parentheses and say text view Okay, in this way, we are actually casting our object to a text view object. But now we don't have to do that, and we can just say find view by id r.id.txt calculations. So this is a new feature in Android Studio. So now we can say txt results assignment operator, and here again find view by id r.id.txt results semicolon. So now let me show you the emulator. So now that we actually initialized our text view objects, now we have these clickable components. These are the components that are clickable. So here we can go inside our onCreate method inside this calculator class, and we can just refer to them and provide OnClickListeners for these buttons, because in other methods of our class that we are going to create later, we don't have to refer to a specific object. We just want to make these components clickable so that something happens when the user interacts with these buttons or with these image views or image buttons. Let's go inside our onCreate method. So my approach to actually refer to these components and make them clickable is really simple. I'm going to just say, I'm not going to create any variables here. I'm going to just say find view by ID. Okay. For example, let me show you the emulator. We have this equal button here at the top. So I'm going to say r.id.btn equal dot set OnClickListener, and here I am going to just pass the context. The context is going to be the calculator class. So calculator.this. But here it's showing us an error, and this error means that this calculator class must implement the OnClickListener interface. So at the top, when it says public class calculator extends activity, we are going to say implements view dot OnClickListener. Now this calculator class must provide an implementation for the onClick method that is inside of the OnClickListener interface. So inside this calculator class, I'm going to just type in here onClick, and the autocomplete feature is going to help me to override this method here. So now that we have this method, there is no error here, right? And here we said that this equal button is now clickable. So an OnClickListener is provided for this equal button. Now it's time to provide an OnClickListener for this number 7. So again, I'm going to say find view by ID r.id.btn7 dot set OnClickListener calculator.this. Right? So I'm going to provide OnClickListeners for all of these components here. If you want to, you can skip this part of the video, and I'm going to just write them manually here. So find view by ID, we have number 8, r.id.btn8 dot set OnClickListener calculator.this. And we have number 9. So we have this plus operator. So now we have the number 4. So again, find view by ID r.id.btn4 set OnClickListener calculator.this. We have number 5. we have the subtract operator. So find view by ID r.id dot btn subtract. btn number 2. And we have the multiplication operator. So find view by ID r.id dot multiplication btn multiply. That's set on click listener calculator that this. We have this clear button. ID.btn clear. That's set on click listener calculator dot this. And we have this 0 button. So find view by ID r.id dot btn 0. Oh, excuse me, I said btn number 0. That's set on click listener calculator dot this. As you can see, remember that I told you assume that all of these components are buttons, and let's, for the ID we can say btn, for example, number 7 or btn plus. And as you can see here inside this onCreate method, we don't have to create variables of any type. We are going to just refer to a view. So as you can see, all of these components here are a subclass of view. So we can say find view by ID and then refer to the specific ID and then create an OnClick listener for that specific component. That's it. So we provided for the number 0, and finally we can say find view by ID r.id .btn divide. That's set on click listener calculator dot this. Okay, so now it's finished. Now we are going to go inside this onClick method that we overrided inside our calculator class, and we are going to create a switch statement. Switch. So here we are getting an argument of type view. So we are getting the view that is actually clicked or tapped, and we can say v dot get ID. We can switch between the IDs, and we can say case r.id dot. So let me show you the emulator. We have this equal, right? This btn equal. So r.id dot btn equal colon break. And let's create a case statement for the other components. So if you want to, again, you can skip this part of the video, and here I'm going to just write them here manually. So again, case r.id dot. So let me show you the emulator. We have this number 7, r.id dot btn 7, the ID colon break. So we're going to write number 8, case r.id dot btn 8 colon break. Break. I'm gonna write it here. Now we have this plus operator. So case r.id dot btn plus colon break. We have number 4, 4, 5, 6, and the subtract operator. So case r.id dot btn 4 btn subtract colon break. So now we have number 1, 2, 3, and the multiplication operator. So case btn 1 colon break case So now we have this clear button, 0, and the divide operator. Case r.id.btn clear colon break 0. So case r.id.btn 0 colon break, and finally we have the divide operator, case r.id.btn divide colon break. So that's it. This is our case statement, and I think that's enough for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we are going to create a method inside our class so that whenever actually the user presses on these numbers or these operators, something happens, and then we can actually start seeing some results here. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial.